Hello. We are the Solidarity Singers of the New Jersey State Industrial Union Council. And, we are pleased to have in our ranks a number of the key organizers of this event. But right now we're just going to sing. We're going to do two songs in honor of the 1913 Great Paterson Silk Strike. As some of you may already know, that was a strike that started in Paterson, and then the IWW came in to help them run the strike, and they shut down the city of Paterson pretty much from January of 1913 to July of 1913. It was a strike for the 8-hour day. It was a strike against the 4-loom system rather than 2. It really wasn't a strike for more money. For the most part, the workers in Paterson didn't feel they were poorly paid until the owners tried to get twice as much work out of them as they had been getting in the past without paying them more. The workers felt that they should bring in more workers, and they should pay those workers, and they should have an 8-hour day, and that each should only be working on 2 looms. The strike was notable for a lot of things. One of the things is that it was a very broad strike uniting groups of workers who were not usually united with each other. You had the broad silk weavers, you had the ribbon weavers, and you had the dye house weavers. And those were 3 different levels of skill, 3 different levels of pay. And in the case of the dye house workers, some of them were extremely low-level labor-type jobs, as opposed to some of the skilled weavers who really had very difficult jobs to figure out how to make these beautiful silk patterns on a loom and how to load it and keep it operating right, and that was a very skilled job. Paterson at that time was the largest silk producer in the world for finished silk material. And it was also notable because of the many nationalities that were involved in the strike and the many different languages that they spoke, and it was notable for the involvement of women in the strike. One of the key strike leaders was Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, who held meetings where they not only talked about economic issues, but Margaret Sanger came in and worked that strike with the IWW, but in the meetings they were also talking about things like birth control. And that's all documented in the history. And the thing that the 1913 strike is often best known for is the pageant of the strike, which was held in June of 1913 in Madison Square Garden and put on by the strikers, and which is to this day considered to be the greatest example of an alliance between artists and the intelligentsia class, the intellectual class, and the true working class in putting on a cultural event to convey the story of the strike. So the songs that the first song we're going to sing, we believe, was sung in the program at Madison Square Garden that night. The pageant of the strike was actually put together by John Reed, who you may have heard of. He was played by Warren Beatty in the film Reds. And he also wrote, of course, 10 Days That Shook the World and a bunch of other things. But what radicalized him was his visit as a journalist to the Paterson strike, where he was interviewing people on the picket line, and the Paterson police threw him in jail. And that turned him from a journalist to an active participant in the strike. He had been a cheerleader at Harvard, so when they had the idea of doing this, he was the natural person to teach these big groups of people songs so that they could all sing together. So at one point, they say that they sang songs of strikers, and they didn't specify which ones they were. But we went out to find them, and at the American Labor Museum, Botto House, they had in their collection a broadside printed in Paterson in February 1913 in a shop that has an IWW Union bug that was written by an unidentified striker. And we think that we're the first ones to have sung it since 1913. We've sung it a couple times up at the Botto House this year. This is sort of the first performance before an audience that's not in Paterson. Since 1913. And it's called For the Strike in Paterson. Okay. Take off your box, be very quiet, and leave the box, will go on strike. So said the workers when they left the Silk Strike House with all its graft. So said the workers when they left the Silk Strike House